live on your chin. Oh, yeah. This is the Goin Deep Show.
But life, like, it's so funny. Like, I was thinking about so many fucking things when I was coming up here. Like, the different roads of which we can take and the different places you could end up. Like, my dad almost ended up in Pennsylvania, and it's like, I wouldn't even know you, you know? It's like all these different things and the people you run into and the girls you meet, and, you know, it's just like, it's just insanity. Life is so crazy. If you really sit back and start thinking about, you know, like looking around at everything, you know?
Well, the forks in the road that you've recognized after the fact.
It is, yeah. And it's just like my whole journey through my whole childhood. Like, I could be an alcoholic right now and a drug addict. And I chose, like, I could either do that or I could go the other way. And I chose to go the other way. And here I am, you know, for good or bad, you know, like just having gone through like a lot of physical abuse, mental abuse, and sexual abuse, I can see why they drink and why they do drugs, and I understand it. And like having one who, like in high school, I used to carry around, you know what, 800 count boxes of what they look like? I used to put a fifth of Bacardi rum in that and carry it around with me.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody would even know. You know what I mean? I had one in my locker in high school.
I used to hide my condoms in those 800 count boxes.
So I would carry that fucking thing around, you know, just take a little swig, put it back in there. And it wasn't perfect. It's not a perfect fit. The box would go up a little bit, but you couldn't tell, you know? So I carry that fucking thing around with me all the time, you know? It's just like, but I can see why people lubricate themselves and go through stuff, you know? It's just like, for me though, it was like, I think the thing that probably saved my life was sports. And sports did it because I could take my anger out on the ball, on the field, whatever it was. And from there, I said before, it's like, everything in the world just goes away. It's just gone, you know? But when you walk out backside of you go outside that field, and then it's right back in your face again.
Well, isn't that kind of how you feel as we record this? You forget about the rest of we're right now in the moment. We're not looking at our phones. We're not distracted. And I feel the same way when I played wiffle ball, when I played regular hardball, when I played vintage ball. Everything, all the troubles, all the bills you got to pay, and all the chores you got to do.
See, you see this on a daily, or what is it? How many times a week? A
couple times a week we're recording.
See, so it's rare for me to come in here, so I don't feel it like you do. I mean, obviously, I just talked about some things right there really quick that not a lot of people know about, and I don't often talk about it. Like, for me, like, I'm like the coffee pot. I can let the physical abuse out and the mental abuse. Those are easy. But the sexual abuse is really hard because, especially for being a guy, it's like, it's the shame. Even though I wasn't at fault, it's still the shame of it, you know? So,
well, here's the thing that's even worse than that. I've had that. My very large-breasted, redheaded babysitter when I was a kid did some shit with me, and I was like, at the time when you're that young, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know that that's not something that is. But as in hindsight, as you get older, you say, "Oh, that was fucked up. Yeah. That's some fucked up shit." Yeah. You wouldn't want that happening to your kid,
right?
I wouldn't want that happening to my kid. Fuck no, man. Now, again, it kind of pushed me into a mindset of like, okay, that world that I was just in as an innocent kid, that innocence is now gone. I have all these weird thoughts in my head now.
That's why I kind of come back to this now is like, is that why I have some of those thoughts of when that lady's rubbing my leg, you know, like, because you've gone through stuff too. You know, like, do you think some of that stuff has to do with it? Or is it just normal testosterone, like every guy on the planet's feeling this? You know what I mean? Like,
this is interesting that you bring this up because we can relate a little bit to this because I think, I don't know if I'm trying to recapture what that feeling felt like the first time that happens, but you kind of are. When you have something happen to you at such a young age, you kind of, you go from the years that doesn't happen, build up, and you're sitting there going like, well, why doesn't this thing happen to me? It made me feel this weird kind of a way. It felt good.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is.
Good.
I loved having my cock sucked.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I look back at it now, And I'm just like, I hate it. And I'm going to put this in perspective for everybody who's fucking listening to this right now. I've been married over 30 years and my wife has no fucking clue.
Yeah.
That's how often I talk about this. The physical abuse, the mental abuse, I can deal with. That's not a big thing, like especially physical. That's just pain. And once that pain goes away, it's gone. The mental abuse, I had to really fight and believe in myself. Because nobody else gives a fuck. You know, at the end of the day, you hear it and like, oh, I feel sorry for you. Fuck that. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. It doesn't help me. It had to come within my own inner strength. And I think that's where a lot of sports really helped me.
Oh, yeah.
It was just that confidence. And it took a while. And people say time heals. Time doesn't fucking heal anything. It's you.
Once that little part of you is taken out, you can't replace it. You can kind of gloss over a little bit, but if you're really being honest with yourself like you are right now, deep down in that back of your mind, if that doesn't happen, like you just said a minute ago, if those things don't happen, are you the same person that you are right now? Yeah. You know, because if that doesn't happen to me, if my babysitter doesn't fucking go down to me or fucking play with me or diddle my bits or do whatever she's doing, don't get me wrong. I said at that time, she had these big boobs and I was young enough to be interested in. I was as a little kid there. I knew I liked women and I liked seeing them. And
you remember being like 7 or 8 and just touching your cock and you don't even know what the fuck that is, but how good it felt. You know,
for some chick to stick in your mouth, you're just like, baby. Woo. But it does. Now, some women are going to hear us talking about this. Oh, I know. Oh, God forbid. Your big titted girl, babysitter sucked your dick. Oh,
I know. You poor thing.
You poor baby. It's like this is the attitude that we have when a female teacher sleeps with the boys in the high school. You know what I mean? It's like
my thought is, where was she when I was in high school? That's my perverted thoughts. You know, how fucked up is that?
No, I thought the same thing. Especially when they're hot.
Like guys, like for me, I've never, in being honest right now, I'm a teacher, and I've never thought those thoughts about a kid, and I think a lot of it has to do with my childhood. I don't like things happening to kids. That's like one of my things. I see it on TV, and it just like especially like the shootings at schools, that rips me apart.
Well, in general, I think it's all about the innocence of it, and you want your kids to hold on to that as long as they can. We don't, when you're young, hold on to that shit. I think my childlike behavior, and I aged way quicker because of that. What happened there, and yeah, you're right. You now again, this doesn't explain my love for younger women that I've had the privilege to be with. So I don't know. I like younger women, but I think I've gotten to a sweet spot with the one I'm hanging out with now. She's 7 years younger. But you're right about when it comes to the kids stuff. Yeah. You got to keep that innocence with them. You don't want, you literally have lived through the trauma and shit and the confusion more than anything. They don't know what the fuck's going on. And I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
I didn't know what to do with that anger. I had no outlets and it became sports that I played so hard. And when you were talking like Jim Rome, part of that, he was talking about me, part of it, not a lot. Like, even though I was ultra competitive in softball, but I never viewed myself as Mr. Softball player. But I played hard. I was all out, all in. And that's the way my whole life is. When I meet these celebrities, like my autograph collection is in fucking insane. And what it is like, I really come to know, like, I'm chasing happiness. And no matter what I do, I'm not going to find it the way it is. Because, like, it's like a drug. So I meet, like, I think Jerry Seinfeld was probably the first comedian I met. Huge high, but then it's like, now it's got to be bigger. Now it's got to be bigger. Now it's got to be bigger. So you know what? It's like the drug addict. They get that initial one and they love it, but now I got to take 10 times as much. Right. And for me at this point, what else is there out there other than like God? Like who am I going to meet at this point that's going to just like,
you have met a ton
like
of people.
who else am I going to meet that's going to get that thrill? So that's like, for me, it's just chasing happiness in myself. And I've got fucking life by the balls. If you like, like people look at my life and they'd say, damn, I wish I had his life. You know what I mean? And I can't see it because for me, it's finding my own fucking happiness. And I just can't do it.
I can relate to this because I'll talk to a couple of my friends and we'll talk about the podcast. We'll talk about baseball stuff. We'll talk about my art and my creativity and my work and things that I like to do. And I tend to try to have a bunch of different tentacles out there doing a lot of different things. I'm never bored. I think I've kind of set this safety net up for myself. So I know at some point my legs are going to give. I'm not going to be able to play. My mind is already in, okay, how am I going to still contribute to the team? I'm going to be there to take pictures. I'm going to be there for creative endeavors. I'm going to be there to umpire, keep score, do the things. I'm still going to be involved in the team. I'm always, until my dying breath, I'm going to be basically independent and doing some stuff with the team. So that I have those, my older years are in my head,
well, you
planned
and I,
out.
We're looking right at
know,
it. Like,
yeah.
I'm especially looking at it. My body's fucking breaking.
Yeah,
down,
my knees, my elbows, my arms, I'm starting to get to that point. But I still have those things to look forward to. I've kind of told myself, I'm never going to like retire and like have to separate myself. I've seen too many guys who are on the team and they do it for family reasons and kids and other things. But I think that deep down, they can still be involved even on a different level. Okay. You know, whether it's some little committee, we get together and we make decisions for the overall team. And I think that's something I mentioned to Cap the other day when I bumped into him. I said, hey, we need to have like a veterans committee. Yeah. For the team, making decisions for it and things we should plan to do. And, you know,
I just want to say just for a sec here, like, I know, like, you know, we play on arch rival teams, and you can cut this out of here. This is
no, man, we keep everything in there.
But Cap, he's one guy, like, just a stand-up dude, and what an outstanding person he is. Like,
oh yeah, he's great.
You know, you see him on the field, and you see, like, you can't just a genuine, like, wonderful person.
It's a stretch to try to come up with some negative stuff to talk about Cap.
You cannot possibly come up with something on Cap. Like, that dude, he's just stand-up, man, like 100%. Like, I've had conversations. I've even called him when I, you know, like years ago when he was still your captain, and talked to him. And just like, what a wonderful person, you know?
I just bumped into him a couple of days ago. There's a place called Lucky Bunny. Because we should go to Lucky Bunny. There's always a hot bartender working there.
Great. I'm going to be thinking about what fucking color panties are. And she clean shaved, trimmed, or...
One of the things I remember about you, remember what was it? Was it Sarah Jean Underwood? Is that what it is?
God,
remember when you said you were talking about her? That's one of the first times you came on the podcast and you were talking about her.
So like, I'm at the... you've been down there to the Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio.
I've never been to it.
You haven't been to it? I thought you guys were going to go one year. Did you cancel?
Silverback will mention going, and I'll say, hey, I want to go. But then he like always scoots town. He always likes to go down and hang out with the other kid.
Okay, yeah. So I'm down there, and we just randomly run into her. We know she's there somewhere.
She's gorgeous,
but she's like, oh yeah, she's real tiny too. So she's just walking down in the hallway and just out amongst lots of people. And I this is weird because, you know, I've met all these people, but I have a hard time when there's like hundreds of people around. I have a hard time finding people. Well, one of my buddies happened to go, that's Sarah. I'm like, what? And so we started getting our picture with her, and I swear to God, this is no joke. I'm standing next to her, getting my picture with her, my arm around her, and all I can fucking think about is her bald beaver. Uh-huh. You know, like, Jesus Christ. Again, is this normal? You know, like... But yeah, she's like the nicest thing. And the other one that's really, really nice is Carmen Electra.
You met Carmen Electra?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, so, she's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, and she's a sweetheart, man. Like, you know, like I'd fucking marry her. I mean, she would never like marry me.
Did you ask her how Dennis Rodman's dick is?
You know what's funny about Dennis Rodman is like being a huge Pistons fan is I watched them guys when they sucked. Right when Isaiah Thomas, that's like my memory. So. My boy was Adrian Dantley, and I remember being a freshman in college, and they traded him to the Dallas Mavericks.
For Mark Aguirre,
busted my fucking heart. But from that point on, I became a Dennis Rodman fan, and in fact, I wrote a paper in college about him, which I can't find because I've met him since, and I wanted to give it to him. But it was talking about like his whole body and how he like maneuvers to catch rebounds and stuff. And it was a great paper. My professor loved it. But he ended up becoming my favorite player. Like after Dantley was gone, but yeah, that broke my heart. I can remember sitting to this day. I can't remember where my fucking car is right now outside, but I can tell you, I can remember sitting on a bench in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan University and reading the newspaper about the possibility. I mean, if they're already writing about it, it's pretty much he's going to be traded. And I didn't understand it at that moment, but I so get it now. They had to trade him because he was slowing up everything. He was a post up guy. Once they got Rodman in there with the rebounds and the fast breaks, you saw that team. They just took off, and they ended up winning championships because of it. And had they won, they may have won. They might have won with him.
Well, think about it, man. He did it with the Pistons, and then he helped out the Bulls do the same thing. You know, I mean,
so did Sally, but and Edwards. Edwards went to the Bulls too. Yeah, they all ended up in Chicago, except for Lambeer and Isaiah, who would never ever play for Chicago.
Which is funny because Isaiah's from Chicago.
Yeah,
that's the funniest part.
But he would have never. Yeah, if you know or not, but he didn't even want to come to the Pistons. Like he did everything. Like I'm not signing with you guys. I'm not playing for you. And they're like, look at it. He got 2 championships, and like it's just funny. Again, roads. What road do you take? You know, you want to feel sorry for yourself because nobody gives a fuck. It's going to be on you. Take the road and be like, I don't know. Like for me, it's like one of my things I tell myself a lot is believe in yourself. And that's how like part of how I got out of all of that just abuse was just believing in myself.
See, again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about all the like things that I have involved in my life, and people from the outside look in, and they're like, "Kid, you're involved in all these things. You know all these people. You do all this stuff." For me, my internal dialogue is constantly like, I can't possibly get out all of the ideas that I have in my head, and it frustrates me because I see the end picture. I see the final way things are, the way things are set up, and taking those first steps. When I had a significant other, when I was married, it was easier because I could send these ideas out into the universe better, knowing that I didn't have to do A, B, C, D in regular life because she was there to kind of counterbalance that. And now I think I've been split now for 8 years.
Has it been that fucking long?
It's been 8 years that I have been pretty much separated, divorced for 6.
Okay.
And split for 8.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, so it's and again, this is me being very critical of myself. What the fuck have I figured out in 8 years? Not a goddamn thing. Okay,
but have you had fun doing it?
I definitely have had fun over the 8 years, but I'm not downplaying the 17 or so years that I was with her.
Yeah.
Because I had fun during those years too. It was a different kind of fun.
You wouldn't have married her. You wouldn't have married her.
But I still feel like I should have been way more honest with her. In fact, that's how I am as I, am getting more involved.
But like you're bringing up something really good here, and this is the way I like to tell people too. Though, in that time, you were making the best choices you could possibly be able to make. You can look back now and go, I should have done this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. But at that exact time in life, you were making choices that you thought were the best at that time. You know what I mean? Like, right, I just don't like when, I'm not talking about you here now, but I'm talking about people who go back and go like, I should have done this with my life. I should have done that. But you know what? At that particular time in life, you were making choices you thought were the best. And again, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about people in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. Like the Monday night quarterback or the Monday quarterback. Fuck that. You're making the best choice. And that's how I've kind of gotten through life, too, is like I've made a shit ton of bad choices, but they don't affect me. I've learned from them, and I move forwards from that. You know what I mean?
And again, me being critical of myself,
You're always going to be your own worst critic, though. You are. And I am in myself, but I'm also trying to pump myself up at the same time.
That's kind of what's led me to what I was talking about, because Silverback and I are button heads a little bit right now, but in a way where I sit back and I don't buy into anything. I don't care. I usually say what I want. And when 2 adults want to have a conversation, 2 adults will have a conversation. Yeah. That's how I look at it. You can sit and wallow in whatever imaginary thing or imaginary made-up conversations in your head. You can do that. Go ahead and do that. But I know from my past experiences as the person making the dumb choices that I made, we all have made these dumb choices. But when you see your friends kind of making the same dumb choices that you did,
yeah,
and you start to say, I remember doing that shit. And you get critical of it. You feel bad because it's none of my fucking business, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
whose fucking business is mine? It's not. But it reminds me of when I was a shithead and I fucked up.
Yeah.
And I have always looked up to him as a big brother, and I always will. But the fact of the matter is, you never want to meet your heroes, essentially.
Oh, there's so much truth.
You never want to meet your heroes.
No.
And I looked up to Silverback for probably a good portion of my life. So realizing he's no more human than I, it kind of disappoints you a little bit. You know what I mean? When I see and I hear some things, not going to get into the details of it.
No, that's none of my
business. You see the road they're going down, and it's a road you went down before that I went down, okay? It's just the bottom line. You just made stupid decisions. You hurt some people you didn't want to hurt, and you don't want to do that. Now, pointing that out to you who you consider someone very close and important to you, blame should not come towards me for pointing out shit that he's obviously doing.
Yeah. Because if you didn't care.
If I didn't give a fuck about you, why would I bring that up? Yeah, exactly. Hey, by all means, you keep trying to jump that bridge that you're not going to make.
That's what I tell my kids at school. If I didn't give a fuck about you, I'd let you do whatever you want. You want to go fucking jump off that trampoline and break your arm? Go for it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I care about you. You know, and they can't get that.
That's what bothers me. And then when it involves other people that I care about too, I'm getting roped into having to give a shit about two things. And then adults need to stop preaching about being adults and actually just being adults.
Yeah.
Okay? Stop sitting here pussyfooting around with this. We all make mistakes. I am the Mr. Make a Mistake Master. Okay?
I'm right in front of you.
I'm making mistakes. I'm gonna make a few mistakes today. Okay? But
I'm drinking right now, and I'm probably going to get in my car at some point today. So, I'm making a big one right myself, you know?
We'll sober our asses up. That's the biggest problem. There's plenty of other places to go and walk and drink more, but we're not going to do that.
Or are we?
You never know. We'll see how many girls are out there.